Hi everyone, it's Mindy and welcome back to the My Favorite Things YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to create a simple one-layer card using the Mermazing stamp set. I'm going to start off with a piece of white cardstock that is cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and this is 80-pound cardstock. And I'm stamping my image in the MFT Extreme Black ink because I'm going to be doing some Copic coloring. I also need to mask this image, so I am grabbing some masking paper and I'm placing that right over my image, and I'm going to stamp my image on that. It doesn't have to be a really crisp, clean stamped image because I'm going to be cutting it out anyway. And now I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut right on that black line that I stamped on this masking paper. So other than the hands, this was a fairly easy image to cut around. After I finish fussy cutting out my image, I'm going to remove it from the masking paper and place it over my stamped image. Now I apologize, I didn't film that part of it, but I do have my image here masked, so I have that piece that I cut out over the top of my stamped image on my cardstock. And now I'm bringing in some 2-inch Post-it tape, and I am lining that up with my cardstock to kind of mask off just one section of this card front. Now I'm going to ink blend kind of an ocean scene behind my mermaid here. So I am bringing in some Distress Oxides, and I'm starting with Salvaged Patina, and I'm using a dome blending sponge. You can use whatever blending tool that you have on hand. I blend that down just a little ways, and then I'm bringing in Mermaid Lagoon, starting at the bottom and going up to meet that Salvaged Patina. You do have to be a little careful. My masking paper kind of wanted to come up in those smaller areas like the hands, so just kind of being a little mindful and careful of that. And once I had blended that up, I didn't think that was enough contrast, so I am coming in at the very bottom of my masked area with Blueprint Sketch. Then I'll bring in my previous colors and just kind of go over those areas to help smooth out that transition. Now I'm doing all of this before I do my Copic coloring, just in case something didn't work out right. I would rather redo blending than having to redo a whole colored image. So now I'm just carefully peeling back that Post-it tape to reveal these beautiful crisp lines around my image. And then to peel up my masked image here, I'm just taking my tweezers and kind of prying that up a little bit, and then I can pull it up off of my image. And I'm going to stick this onto my stamp set to save for another time. So now I have this great ink blended background with my mermaid image here that I'm going to be Copic coloring. Now I don't always do one-layer cards because, for one, I'm not really a huge fan of fussy cutting, but it does have its purpose, and I do sometimes use it if it's a really clean image to fussy cut out. I will attempt to do it, and plus this was a really super cute image that I just had an urge to color up, so I put up with the fussy cutting to be able to get this really cute image on my card. And one-layer cards are great for sending through the mail. I definitely do like to add dimension to my cards and bulk, but one-layer cards are so nice to send in the mail and you don't have to worry about extra postage. Now I do have all of the colors that I'll be using today listed at the top of the screen for you. I decided to go with some bright pink hair to make this a very colorful card. I have RV 29, 25, 13, and 10. And I do like to go over them a couple times when I'm using a few colors for a blend. So I brought in RV 69 to really add just some more contrast to the image. And that's going to be wherever my shadow areas are. So kind of that star that's in her hair, I would think is casting a shadow, or where her part is, I'm adding a shadow to each side of that. And I'm just doing small flicks. And I'm making sure that those flicks out are very uneven. I don't want it to be where everything looks like it's in a line. I want it to be uneven so that it kind of shows off those highlights. Then I'll move on to the skin, and I am using E04, E11, and E01. It's kind of my go-to color combination. I'm adding a shadow area right under where the hair would kind of be overhanging on the face, and then also on the sides, so that is my E04. I also added that shadow area on the side, on each side of her stomach, and also around her top, and then on the underside of her arms. And then I'm blending that out with the E11, going over those same areas and extending that a little bit. And then I'll finish it off with an E01. Now you can leave it just like that, but I do usually like to go over them twice when I'm coloring in kind of larger areas like that. So I'm going to bring in those same exact colors. The E04 looks quite dramatic, but it does blend out and lighten up when you go back over it with the E11 and then the E01 to finish off those highlight areas. And I did notice as I was coloring this that I missed a strand of hair, so I'll bring in my RV, I think it was 25 or 13, and just kind of fill in that little strand of hair that was hanging over. And is also a little gap between her hair and her arm that I'm going to use a Copic marker to color in to make it look like the background. Now I can move on to coloring her top and also her tail. And I started out with the darkest color being G29, adding that to the side and then a little bit in the middle to kind of give her a little form to the top. I'm also adding that darkest color to the right side of her and just a little bit on the left. And I'm going to blend that out. I have G17, YG06, and YG, I think it's 00 or 01. I will list the colors for sure that I used at the top of the screen here for you. This is one of my favorite green color combinations to use because of the stark contrast between the colors. I have some really, really dark colors and then some very vibrant, almost neon looking kind of greens. And I think that just looks really neat when you have that dark shadow area and then that bright green right in the kind of front area to give that highlight area. So I did go over this one twice as well. And then I'm going to take one of the darker markers and I'm going to add small flicks in that tail just to add a little bit of interest to the tail and so it doesn't look so flat. And then I will take a Y13 and a Y38 to color in the star. And I grabbed a BG marker that looked pretty similar to my blue background there to fill in that little gap between the hair and the arm. So once I have everything colored in, I'm going to stamp a little bit into that background. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be needing to stamp over the top of the image, so I am adding that mask right back on top. I'd rather be safe than sorry. And then I'm bringing in a couple of these schools of fish that are on the Mermazing stamp set. Once I decided on placement, I'm going to pick them up at the door of my Misty, and I'm going to stamp them in the same colors that I used in the background. So for this one, I'm using the Mermaid Lagoon, which worked really fine for the school of fish on towards the top, but it wasn't showing up as well at the bottom. So the bottom little school of fish I am stamping in that blueprint sketch, so it's kind of giving like the silhouette look of them in the background. And then I can add in my sentiment and just stamp that in VersaFine ink. So after that is stamped, I can once again kind of help peel up that mask with my tweezers to reveal the front of my card, and I just couldn't let this go without adding a few embellishments that look like bubbles. So I'm just taking my MFT glue pen and an embellishment wand, and I'm adding a few of them towards the top and a couple of them down below by the bottom of my mermaid. And that is going to finish up my Mermazing card for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you again real soon.